Hey everybody, this is the cold open. Just waiting on Joe to call me back. He sent me a private Facebook that he's going to call me on Google, so we'll just wait for that. Just waiting. I guess I could Google and find out what Lana Del Rey has been up to during this quarantine. I assume nothing controversial. Certainly I would not expect her to make any perhaps ill-timed comments on race relations, because that would be stupid if she did that. If, let's say, she compared herself to different black artists and said that they have it easier than her, that would, perhaps that would be stupid. But I'm sure she didn't do that. I just had a sip of water. I'm sitting shirtless in my room, have the fans off, so we've got pristine sound for your Lana Del Rey podcast. This is not really about Lana Del Rey. I don't know if we mentioned that too much, because at this point, if you're listening, well, that's not true. Every episode, we've got some new idiot who thinks we're really going to talk about Lana Del Rey. Why do they think that? Because we told them we would. Because it's called the Lana Del Pod. So we are assholes, and if you're that new person for this episode, I guess I apologize. I don't want to fully apologize because, that is not my nature. And you can ask several ex-girlfriends, but not all of them, because some I gave good apologies to. But the other ones, boy, do they expect just a direct apology for me to address my specific actions. Can you believe these women? Ugh. Women are weird. Let's see what else is going on. I assume he must be dialing. He said he was going to call me in 1 second. So actually, now that I'm looking at the message, it says, give me a sec. So with Joe McMahon, that could be anywhere from a minute or two to, I would say, upwards of several hours. Clearing my throat a little bit. This just solo pod, I now I understand how my friend Matthias feels doing his daily hourly addresses, which are on Facebook. I'm not up that early normally, so I don't catch it live, but he's a funny guy. I'm trying to think of some opinions I've had recently that I could give you seemingly organically. I'm thinking a lot about choice and time and how much we, how much really we control in our lives, or if how much is just, based on where we were born and who our parents were, both in a nature and a nurture aspect. Obviously we're the sum result of how they raise us, but we're also just the sum results of their actual genealogy. Like, they probably have character traits ingrained in them that they passed along, and we have no choice unless we actively are aware and we're actively fighting those to sort of become at least extensions of our parents, for good and for bad. So isn't that strange? I've been thinking about that a little bit lately. It started, when I was, I don't like office jobs. I do because they're so stupid. They're so dumb. They make me, they're just fascinating to me how dumb they are. A lot of the mid-level and the lower level, and then of course on the higher level, is people doing work that's not really work. There's so much unnecessary jobs, which I guess is part of our economy in a way. Like, that's sort of, an allowance, is to allow people to find these meaningless mid-level jobs. Obviously that's weighted in, certain demographics and classes. But in a way it's sort of like, here's your allowance just for staying busy, because some of these things are just insane. Like, there's nothing going on. So I did every time I've got a long-term temp assignment in an office building, my mind just gets blown at how little actual work is supposed to be done. Like, I worked for a big bank corporation, and essentially my job was checking someone else's work. And then someone else would check my work, and then someone else would check their work. So basically, the only person doing any work was like some idiot on site at these old banks checking to see if originally, like 50 years ago, someone filled out the form correctly versus what someone 5 or 10 years ago put on their online database. Do you realize how insane that is? Like, why are we checking that? Just update it, or just take the most recent one, or throw everything away. Or don't throw it away. Just keep it in some files. And then, like, if there's ever a problem, go check the fucking files. Like, who gives a shit? So I would take edibles at lunch during that job because it just seemed so infinitely... Whoa, I had trouble with that word, but that's a problem when I try to sound smart, is sometimes I don't pronounce words the correct way. I remember talking to my dad and older brother one time, and I thought self-deprecating. This is when I was in college, so get off my back. But also, this is when I was in college, so get on my back. But I pronounce self-deprecating as self-depreciating, and still think about that every couple, I don't know, I guess I say month or two. Those people that like they like run into someone wacky somewhere, and this person did something weird, and whether or not it was just crazy strange, or whether or not it was like, reflective of our society, and then they say like, I think about that person every day. It's like, every day you think about that? I understand it stuck with you, sure. Also, I understand what you're saying, so maybe I shouldn't take a big issue with it. You know what? This is easier than I thought. I take away my props to Matthias. Real easy to ramble about nothing. What was my point earlier about... So I'd take edibles at these office jobs, and then I'd start to look at the people around me and like, oh, they're walking weird. The way human beings walk is weird. That's when you know you're pretty high at an office, when you start to look at... But then I was looking at like, posture and body type, and like, just like like some of these men in these offices are very like weak, like small. And I'm not saying that, it sounds like I'm being a bully, but I'm just, they have small frames and sort of weak dispositions, and like they're crouchy, but they're not crouchy. They're standing up straight, but they're just like, they seem shorter than they are just because of their natural energy. And it's like, oh, did that person want to be an office guy? That person, is that his natural nature? Or did they make choices? Did they like, oh, here's what I want my career to be, and I wound up working for this wellness corporation, which is another place I had a long-term temp job at, a wellness corporation where we're taking data from other businesses and assessing whether or not their employees have properly gotten medical checkups and are exercising on a regular basis, so that we can give them points or reward them in some ways because their medical insurance is cost effective, because they're not going to get sick or injured more than someone who is unhealthy. And at some point, that is a big, efficient whatever. But it's like, what an insane... We're all just little cogs in a machine, and we're like assessing if we've all got a little bit of oil so we can keep running the machine instead of just like, checking in on people like, how you fucking doing? Joe's really taking his sweet time. He said he had laundry to do. He's probably finishing a fucking video game where he's like a ninja or ancient warrior that attacks a robot. We don't have much imagination when it comes to, well, I can't do it. I was going to make a big judgment on video games, but I don't play them on the regular, so maybe that's out of bounds for me to do. Or just be, not out of bounds, but ignorant, Maybe there are some complex things. I suspect not, though. You're still a guy that travels a world and fights a monster? Okay. No, I don't think your thing is art. I don't know. You're still punching buttons, moving a little stick around and hitting buttons in the right order so you can pretend like you fought a thing. I don't know. That's not a novel. Joe, where the fuck are you? I'm not sure how much of I'm going to be honest with you right now, dear listener of the Lana Del Pod. Not sure how much of this to leave in, because I don't want you to get bored. Joe McMahon's coming up. He's the meat of this podcast as far as the feedback I've gotten. No, that's not true. People say we bounce off each other well. We lived together for, I think, something like 3 years, perhaps more. It's all kind of a weird blur. Really tested and strained our relationship, if you can believe it, living with someone. I've never lived with a girlfriend. I think that's something I should do next. Now I just have to find a girlfriend. It'd be funny if then I died. Like I said that, and then you just heard a gunshot. That was the last thing you ever heard from me. It's me softly and impotently into my own podcast saying I need to get a girlfriend. And then what? I could leave some instructions for someone to put like, the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme song after the gunshot, or I don't know, something else that's fun or entertaining. Light, of course, silly and surface level and nothingness, but in contrast to me confessing some real feelings and then murdering my own self. Very funny. And this is sort of like early, like the mid days of Marc Maron, when he would just do a really long intro. Do you remember that? He'd do a really long intro to stop you from getting to the interview that you wanted to hear. It's very frustrating. But then people became aware of it, so his guest started, or like just, people he interacted with on Twitter or whatever, they started using that as a jab at him, like, your intros, like, are too long. So then it sort of became unfair. I feel like it's an unfair criticism. It's still his show. Thoughts and prayers out to Marc Maron. Nope, I don't want to say thoughts and prayers, though. Like, I mean it genuinely. I don't actually mean it genuinely, because I understand there's no way he would ever hear this. But, still you got to push out nice, positive energy into the world. We all have to do that more. This is an experiment to see, I guess, how long it's going to take Joe to call me back. The other day I was thinking about pumpkins. I don't know if that's interesting to you guys. You realize how many times you've carved a pumpkin in your life? Like, I had a kind of a weird childhood. I didn't get to celebrate Halloween very much because my mom thought it was a devil's holiday or something. I thought a lot of the weird childhood things I experienced was just because of like Christianity, but it turns out I just had a weird mom. It's something I'm learning. I guess I learned it a couple years ago. In my early 30s or late 20s. It's a realization that was good to have, that realization after being an adult for 12 years or so. Not that it affected all of my relationships and every adult interaction I've had of any worth and substance. Good to find that out as you're approaching middle age. Like, hey, some of this stuff is not normal. What was I going to say about pumpkins? Oh, so I've only carved like maybe 8 pumpkins in my life. And I think the average number is probably close to, the teens, probably like 15 or so. At the very least, we can say it's at least double digits for most of us, A lot of pumpkin carving in our childhood, and then, your early teens. Oh, here comes Joe, I think. I want to finish this pumpkin talk. I'll pass it off to Joe. Holy smokes, it's the Lana Del Pod with Joe McMahon and Samuel Priest, a podcast about Lana Del Rey, but not really about Lana Del Rey. It's kind of ironic. It's a long story. Anyway, sit back, relax, and listen. Or I guess jog or whatever. We don't know what you're doing. It's the Lana Del Pod. Here we go. Hello, this is Samuel Priest.
Hi, this is Joe McMahon.
What an organic intro. Joe, I'm recording. Is that okay?
Yep. I am ready to go. How does the headset sound? I'm calling you from my work headset.
You definitely sound better. It's still not fantastic. It's not stereo clear, but it definitely sounds, I would say, much better. Joe, do we need to, do some personal check-ins off the air, off the record, or should we just...
No, I think I'm okay with going full bore on the record now.
Okay, took a big sip of water. Joe, how you been, man? It's been, I think, a week or so.
Yeah, terrible news. I'm no longer on unemployment. I'm working.
Whoa, that is bad. Bad for you, and I'd say bad for the country.
It sucks. Yeah, and in fact, I'm making about $200 less than I was on unemployment.
Now, I know it's illegal, but could you have refused to go back to work?
Not if I wanted to keep getting money for not working.
Oh, that's...
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite the catch-22.
It does seem... It seems almost unfair that they want you to exert some kind of effort for money.
I think things are tense. I know things are tense. And, at the risk of sounding callous, or privileged,
Yeah.
getting paid a little bit less to do my job than I was to do nothing feels like literal slavery.
Okay. For any new listeners that are suddenly just trying out this episode for the first time, Joe is being satirical, and he's self-aware that is obviously not akin to slavery of any kind.
It's not. Yeah, I'm being satirical. When I say literal slavery, I don't mean that. It is a shade of slavery.
And you know what? Listen, isn't capitalism just the same as?
Yeah, if you go high enough up the chain, it's all the same thing, but not really, but kind of.
It is all the same.
It's tricky.
It's all the same thing.
Tricky.
But then again, it's nothing like this.
it's not at all like it, but it's kind of like it. It's
sure.
Tricky. What tricky times?
Just
tricky times.
It is tricky times. There's a lot in the news that we're probably not going to talk about. We'll have this be a little escape. And what I was
I think elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Everyone in Minneapolis burning down. I mean, they're tearing the city apart because Jimmy Fallon did blackface, and I, for one, applaud it.
Well, it's about time we recognize that. It was, I think, and listen, I don't want to pick nits here, but it was definitely, I feel like, more Chris Rock face than it was face. But also, he didn't look like Chris Rock. I think that's a big problem.
Yeah. There were a couple problems with that.
He really didn't look anything like Chris Rock, and the impression wasn't good enough that he was the one that should be doing it. So really, as much as I love to defend Jimmy Fallon, which is, a pastime of mine.
Big hobby.
I can't, this one moment, I can't.
Yeah, it's, I make no secret about being a huge Jimmy Fallon fan. Taxi's my favorite movie.
I do.
But, I think, he really screwed the pooch by doing this 20 years ago.
It makes me just sort of, I don't know, it just makes me doubt how much I've enjoyed when he plays a dinner game with celebrities, because normally that's my favorite thing. Like, they're playing Guess Who, but it's like that's John Hamm though doing it.
Well, the nice thing about Jimmy Fallon is he apologized for it, and because he's Jimmy Fallon, that it was super sincere.
Well, that's what we've grown to know, that he's a sincere person, for sure.
Yeah.
The quarantine's actually given us a window into his life, which we can say is wonderful. I wish him the best. Yeah. Can we move on?
Yeah, we can move on. I think I've got a little checklist here. Jimmy Fallon, blackface, not great, check.
All right. Well, it seems like we're addressing small issues of race relations first, so we can also bring up our girl Lana Del Rey. Did you read about what
I know
her fucking bullshit, making us look like
idiots? She kind of came off as someone who doesn't like black people.
She kind of came off as someone,
especially black women. Yeah,
and then she later said those are her favorite black women, but it's like, well, you said that they were treated better than you. So
yeah, I don't like people who are treated better than me typically. They're not like my favorite people usually. But I don't know. Is there a chance we think Lana Del Rey doesn't like black people?
I think there is a chance that she's, at the very least, we'll say she's got a very privileged point of view that is probably dominated by her whiteness, I think we can say. But also, we're two white guys. We're two white guys, so we can't
have a pony in this race.
We can't really grill her too hard, except to say that Lana Del Rey, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, but we can't say that really.
I mean, yeah, because
we can say, "Hey, Lana Del Rey, far be it from either me or Sam to talk about your experience or worldview, because we have no idea what it's like."
Well, also first we should even introduce ourselves. Like, hey, Lana.
My
name's Sam.
Hello, Lana.
This is Joe.
Hi. If, by the way, if this is making you uncomfortable, we do not have to keep talking.
Yeah, we can go. But also, we should tell you, we do have a podcast that is themed around you that we've been doing for about 7 years.
We absolutely should tell you that. And also, if that's a problem, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be implicated at all.
No. Full disclosure, Lana, while we're just getting to know each other, I have photoshopped our heads into pictures of you hanging out with your friends over their heads to make it look like we hang out and have some kind of relationship with you because we're doing an ironic podcast. Full disclosure, is...
And just so you know, I know you're wondering, like, wait, is that a bad thing? I swear we're good people.
Yeah.
We're two good people.
But we all are also sort of, we've used you to sort of make fun of you and make fun of the idea of worshiping celebs in general.
Yes, we're making fun of you as a celebrity and not as a person of a different gender or anything like that. It's purely about your celebrity status.
As a human...
We did do an episode, full disclosure, we did do an episode where we ranked the fuckability of fictional women, and it was satirical in nature. We were holding up a mirror to toxic masculinity by being toxic men.
Yes, and that was in a time when that type of social commentary was still accepted a little bit more than it is now.
We were still letting Harvey Weinstein make movies back then.
And not to mention Woody Allen. We hadn't stopped Woody Allen like we now have.
Oh, or Louis C.K. or any of those guys. And we're much better people than all of them.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, you know, a jury of our peers will decide that someday. But I would also agree.
Sure.
But just Lana, before we get to our question for you, I would also like to just say that, our podcast really has nothing to do with your individual identity at all.
Absolutely not.
We didn't even factor that in, your actual agency. It's merely about the surface level celebrity of who you are, and we're playing on that in a very dismissive way.
If you were Larry Delmar, it'd be the same podcast.
It'd be the exact same podcast. This would be the Larry Dunmar pod.
Yeah. In fact, the phonetic similarities between Pod and Ray really kind of pointed us in this direction more than anything.
It was mostly a choice the universe made for us, I would say. Neither me nor this guy have a hand on the wheel. You know what?
We're saying.
Joe, I forgot what we were even going to say to this person.
Don't complain about black women.
Yeah, you fucking idiot. What are you doing?
Yeah, don't complain about black artists. You go complain about your own treatment. That's fine. You can't say, like, boy, do they have it easier, because they probably don't.
I mean, just on a guess.
I'm going to guess it's not been great.
Even if I hadn't, like, personally witnessed the way that, like, our media refers to black women versus white women, which is also, very destructive and dismissive and terrible, I think we can just, guess that perhaps they are treated more unfairly than you, white woman Lana Del Rey.
Yeah. You know who doesn't get criticized for their music? Jimmy Buffett. You could have said Jimmy Buffett doesn't get this type of bullshit, and we would have been like, that's a great point.
I feel like Jimmy...
Or John Cicada, Bob Seger, Michael Bolton.
Joe, I don't want to get off. I don't want to get off on a tangent, because the point of this podcast, at least in the early going, is to hold Lana Del Rey's feet to the fire as far as comments that she made on her Instagram post. For sure, that's our job and responsibility. But I will say, do you factor in Jimmy Buffett's novel output, his literary contribution to our society? Do you factor that in when you're assessing him as an artist, or do you sort of just take his music as one thing and you almost ignore his book writing as like a glorified hobby?
They're separate things. I wouldn't call it a hobby. I mean, the guy's got more best-selling, he's got more New York Times bestsellers than Don DeLillo.
Is that true?
So I wouldn't call, probably. I just learned who Don DeLillo is like 2 days ago. So
I feel like he's got a lot of books, though, because I only know him as a book guy.
Yeah, but Buffett also has a lot of books. Like, pretty much every one of his songs got adapted into a book.
Oh, I thought he only had... I mean, I know about, like... I don't remember what the first part is.
Well, there's A Pirate Looks at 40, which is his autobiography. That's also based on the song that's autobiographical, called A Pirate Looks at 40. There's...
what's that one that's
There's another book. I forget the name of the book, but there is a great passage I remember reading when I was a kid. where a dude's he's like a bush pilot in the Bahamas, and he's flying this dude to a different island, and they get shot at, and the guy was like, "Oh my God, that was exhilarating. I think I'm hard." And the guy goes, "I know I'm hard." And then nothing sexual happens. Bizarre. You think it's going to go that way.
They're just so charged on about their lives being
Getting
in
shot
danger.
at.
That's an interesting response. Now, you read this as a boy, a child, you say?
Yeah, I was 24.
Okay. I would say that's not a boy and a child. I was going to relate to you that when I was the age of 13 or 15 or something, or I don't know, 12, I read the autobiographies of both the wrestler Mankind from the WWF or WWE.
Sure.
And then also the autobiography of The Rock, of course. And this was in let's say 1997, 98 era. Maybe it's 2001 though. I don't know.
Man,
yeah.
Rock really, he wrote the autobiography early. He had a whole another chapter of his, it's weird to have an autobiography come out when in just a few years you will become one of the biggest stars in the world.
I think that happens with a lot of people. A lot of people write their memoir before they're 34, and it's like, what? You don't even really have proper distance to assess your life.
Yeah, that's weird. I feel like if John Wayne Gacy had a book called I'm Just a Clown, and then
Mankind, he had listen, I'm just going to skip over your John Wayne Gacy. I've been talking about him so much lately. But Mankind at least was 45 or something when he wrote his. But the funny thing about Mankind, he wrote 3 or 4 fucking autobiographies. It's and I think two of them happened after he was retired.
Well, there's a lot of, he was Mankind, he was Cactus Jack, he was Mick Foley. There's, each one of those probably deserved a treatise.
That's fine. I do remember the beginning of his first book. It does start by going, I lost my fucking ear. And because I remember showing that to my mom at how interesting this book was about to be. He lost his ear he lost his ear in a wrestling. I believe.
Oh, I imagine that's how he lost it.
I believe the rest of the book was also entertaining, but I couldn't tell you one.
Was the last sentence of the book? And finally, I found my ear.
I assume so. There's a chance I didn't finish the book.
Sure. Yeah, I've done a lot of that. I've started books and not. I don't know. I've finished very few books. I started slightly more.
As a child, I would finish every single book I ever read. As an adult, I don't think I've finished one book.
Sure. It's hard to finish a book.
Well,
it's a book.
Once you start reading, you're like, what am I doing? Reading a book?
Yeah. Yeah. What am I stuck in? Am I stuck in yesteryear?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Why am I doing this when I could be out cleaning my horse?
Yeah. Oh, you got a horse? That's new.
Well, I was pretending like I was an olden time Benjamin Franklin type character.
Oh, yeah.
Where I got a horse.
Isn't it funny to think about Benjamin Franklin on a horse?
It is fun.
He's like this big fat fuck with gout and syphilis. Just, all right, let me get on my goddamn horse. Blah.
I don't think
But that was a sight.
I don't think I have any actual concept of what gout is, except for something with your stomach.
You eat too many fatty foods, and somehow that makes your toe hurt.
Oh. Well, I think I might have gout, to be honest.
Oh, yeah? Has your toe been hurting?
I have some feet problems every now and then, and I do eat a lot of shitty foods. Yeah.
Have you invested in good shoes?
A friend of mine gave me some shoes last year just because they didn't quite fit him, and they were very nice boots, and they're so expensive and comfortable, it made me realize that I have been mistreating my feet for about 15 fucking years.
Yeah, you got to do something nice for them. I finally got some decent shoes. 2 days ago they came in. It's a game changer.
It is. Besides the random high priced sneaker or whatever, I just buy shitty boots because I'm winter boots, summer shoes or whatever. Just cosmetic is what I'm looking for. Just the visual. Mm-hmm. And it turns out you got to be nice to your feet.
You got to be nice to your feet.
Got to be nice to your feet.
If you think about it, they're kind of, if that goes, you're fucked. Everything's built on top of it.
Yeah. You see these people that are trying to get around on wheels, they have the hardest fucking time because a lot of these buildings, they're not accessible.
Nope. Can't do that.
It's a real tragedy that I'm not going to think about as soon as we move on from this conversation.
No, we could dwell on the handicapped.
I know.
I think that would be
what
fine.
I'm saying is we mention it. It's lip service. People, grown adults, we mention it, and then we just move the fuck on.
Makes sense. What's new with you there, Samo?
I don't know. I really don't know. Every day is a blur, Joe.
Sure.
Been playing some online poker with some friends. That's been fun, and except for the times when it's not, and I'm losing my shirt. I try to give my cat a haircut.
How'd that work?
Well, it's not great. She doesn't really like when I try to do that. To be honest, I've been trying for about a week plus, to be real fair. And I take a lot of what I think is unnecessary criticism of being a sort of a vocal and public cat owner, a cat guy, if you will. And a lot of it is, I would say, unwarranted criticism and looks in general, like, snide little snippy comments, some couched in homophobia, I believe. But I would say, as a guy who has been trying to give his cat a haircut for, I would say, 8 days or so, some of the comments are perhaps warranted. It is kind of a goofy situation. Maybe it's weird, because she does not. It's hot. It's getting hot, and she's a long-haired Maine Coon, and so she's got a lot of hair.
Here's what you got to do, my man.
Okay.
All right. We were encountering the same problem with our dog, Nancy. She was getting, she's a little poodle Bichon mix, so she's got this really thick, curly hair.
Did you say?
Which is just a nightmare in the summer.
A poodle Bichon?
Poodle Bichon.
Bichon. Okay, I wasn't familiar.
Yeah, and Kristen bought a dog grooming kit for like $50.
Mm-hmm.
And we were trying to it was like a fucking ordeal. We were trying to do it with like whatever shit we use on ourselves.
Yeah, I was trying to do that. That's what I was trying to do.
Well, the thing is, they make the things that are made specifically for the pets are made in such a way that they don't get freaked out by being near them.
Oh.
Yeah. So there you go. You don't have to be the weirdo trying to groom your cat for 8 days. You can just be a cool guy who knocked it out in 15 minutes because he's got to go, I don't know, race a dirt bike. Flip the script on your perception.
I've never been.
It's honestly, it's the shoe conversation just in a different form. You got to get the proper tools to do the job.
Well,
otherwise you're spinning your wheels.
I grew up pretty poor, and at the time I didn't. At the time I kept on. I was fooling myself into thinking I was like more lower middle class instead of poor. I did that whole exercise in my brain. But if I would have just accepted that I'm poor, and then just noticed that my general character and just the way I live my life is to cut corners and to take a simple, frugal choices in most aspects. That would solve a lot of my problems if I was like, no, just pay for the cat grooming kit instead of using your body hair trimmer on your cat. And then she doesn't like that, so she runs away. So then you're like, oh, I'll get scissors. But guess what? She doesn't really like scissors either.
Don't like those either.
So then I got like a cat that's got little missing patches of hair here and there. And then my roommates think I'm an idiot.
And that's the weirdo cat guy. Not the guy with the well-groomed hat. The guy with the weird, patchy, scared cat.
Yeah. Well, she's not like scared all the time. Just when I get the scissors out and I go, it's haircutty time.
Yeah, that would be scary.
Yeah.
I'm putting myself in her paws, and I don't like it.
Well, I've been putting on different masks so she doesn't recognize it's me, but she's still kind of freaked out.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, the mask thing, that might, that's a good idea. I think you keep that. You just need to swap out the tools that you're using. Instead of using a human body hair trimmer, get a cat hair trimmer. The unemployment coming in real good and nice?
Not real good and nice, but it is sort of coming in a little bit. But I think I fucked up something. I don't know. I just haven't. There's some kind of weird delay in this week's payment, so I'm nervous about it. That it also is stopped for me, but I haven't talked to anyone. But I don't know if I ever will talk to anyone. You know how this works. The government.
Sure.
So
you got to file. You got to you got to certify your certification date every 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's
frustrating. As long as you do that, the drip will keep coming. I thought that I was going to get some sort of restitution for the 3 days I wasn't working. But apparently once you start working, they don't give you any sort of prorated coin, which is fine. I mean, listen, I'm doing okay. I bought new shoes. I bought a $70 NutriBullet juicer, trying to get my smoothie game back.
Whoa. Juicing, huh?
I'm going to start, it's the only way that I'm going to get nutrients into my body, because I don't like vegetables or fruit. I don't care for it.
I do remember, because we used to live together, that you would occasionally, I think this happened maybe 3 times or so, maybe more than that, but you would make a declaration that you're going to start eating healthier, and then you'd go to the grocery, and you would get all this very healthy food, just all of it, just so much, and then you would eat it in about 2 meals.
Yes, yeah. Because I don't like it, I need to get rid of it so I can move on to buy good food. And, it's a vicious cycle.
It is. It's a vicious cycle. I also am still,
But with the juicer, I can cram that shit into a receptacle, blend it, drink it, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out.
There you go.
Yeah. Don't have to go nuts.
Perfect.
Don't create the other thing too is it's all like frozen shit, so you don't have the anxiety about it going bad.
Oh yeah.
Because
you would always buy so much fresh produce, and it's like,
yeah,
you can only eat that for a week and a half at most.
Yeah, at most. I like getting like rare mushrooms that are going to go bad in 17 hours.
Oh yeah.
Things like that. Yeah. So this will afford me an opportunity to get some nutrition. I would like to. I just don't want to be so fat. I think I'm otherwise healthy. I don't really drink much anymore. I don't smoke cigarettes. The idea of smoking now is like disgusting.
For sure.
But still too much me. There's too much me. And we need to be lean because we are going to descend in some sort of Mad Max racial hellscape.
It does seem like that is on the horizon, perhaps. But also, I feel like we've been in this situation before, and we've mostly
but not with like 30% unemployment. It's things are dicey.
Things are dicey.
I really do. I really do think that at some point I'm going to have to engage in mortal combat to defend my wife and my dog and my cat, and I'm preparing my body for such a day.
Well, I suppose in a weird twist of fate, I'm actually better equipped to handle that, being sort of a lone road warrior.
Yes. In fact, I'll probably have to solicit your services to get my wife back from some sort of marauder group.
And begrudgingly, I'll help you out.
Well, it's because I'll give you my spices.
Sure. Sure.
I've been hoarding spices.
And you know what? The only thing that I'll want or need at that point in my life will be spices.
Well, I imagine after the ordeal, when I'll offer you the spices, you'll decline and say, don't worry about it. And then I'll say something to the effect of, I think we're heading up the same way. And then you just become part of our family unit.
Oh, like a weird uncle?
I think more like I don't know, like a neighbor, like a close neighbor, but there's no more homes, so I don't know what you call it, but like you're that.
Okay. Well, if I still have my cat, the cat will be up on my shoulder. If not, I'll have to find some kind of hawk.
That's gonna look fucking cool, especially because the cat's gonna have like maybe like an aviator cap on or like an eye patch.
Yeah, I was definitely gonna say eye patch for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna outfit little Nancy here with like a splint.
That's cool.
That goes up alongside her foot that has a retractable blade in it.
Whoa.
That way, well, she's got to be able to defend herself.
Yeah.
We will have to cone her up though because she is a scratcher.
Yeah, and I was gonna say
I haven't quite figured out how we're gonna safeguard against the scratching, but for sure I've been working on the splint blades.
Well, okay.
It's gonna be. And spoiler, I hope my wife doesn't listen to this. Her birthday's coming up in July. That's going to be the gift.
Okay. A couple things.
Surprise her with some splint blades for Nancy.
Sure.
And the cat, I don't know. I'm thinking about like some sort of crude, like a poison dart gun that can like operate off of like compressed air that maybe she can like bite, she'll like bite a bladder and it will shoot. I don't know. I've been drawing up some shit. I've been phoning it in at work, so I've got plenty of. I still have all the same free time. It's just the government's not paying me. The government's paying them to pay me. It's so wasteful. Just pay me. Why do you need a middleman?
Yeah, pay you for what though? I
think I'm doing a good job of contributing to the the space in which I inhabit.
Well, it sounds like I
support my wife, who does very important work. I don't commit any acts of crime. I don't engage in vandalism.
Okay. Well, most people don't do vandalism.
Well, the ones that do, maybe they want it if you fucking footed the bill for some shit, Uncle Sam.
Sure. Well,
I don't think it's a bad way to treat your. Paying for compliance might be better than democracy.
Perhaps. I mean, that's the whole. I can't remember the exact phrasing, but the monthly allowance. It's an argument for monthly allowances, right?
Oh yeah, universal basic income.
That's what I meant to fucking say. Hey, you were saying stuff about 4 minutes ago, and then you wouldn't let me talk. But my feedback on your pet thing is that you're not worried about your dog Nancy like disemboweling actually just a friendly neighborhood dog or something like that. And then 2, if this scenario does happen, your dog Nancy, well groomed, is going to look pretty silly next to my ragged hair, crunched off cat, which is going to look like a goddamn survivor in this hellscape of a post-apocalyptic world.
That's great. And also, if Nancy is well-groomed, it's going to imply that I have way more spices than I actually have, which will make us a target for more marauding.
Yeah. You got to be low-key and look like you're just passing through and not a threat.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, Kristen's, still working, but I don't really have time to go over it. I think I'm going to get a good burn pile going for the dog grooming kit.
That's fine. That sounds good. Are you physically going into work, or is it just like remote?
It's remote.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Sure. It's a lot harder to half-ass it when you're at the physical location.
Yeah, I was talking to your coworker Dave, friend of the pod, and he mentioned that several of your coworkers and perhaps boss, I wasn't quite sure, they do not believe in the coronavirus.
Yeah, most of them do not believe in it.
So
most of them think that it's 5G's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Verizon did this.
Yeah. Yeah, they think that Verizon made an oopsie-daisy when they were making the internet faster. They got us all sick.
See, what happened is Sprint and AT&T merged, and now our elderly are dying. That checks out, guys.
Yep. Luckily, these jokers are not the bosses. Our bosses are, one of our bosses is dubious about it. He's kind of a conservative nut. But the other 2 are reasonable people. I feel like it's fair to just say that all conservatives are, at best, ill-informed and at worst, willfully bad people at this point.
Oh, at this point, for sure. Like, at best, you are a fucking idiot. That's your only thing.
Yeah. Dumber than most people. Dumb to the point where you really shouldn't have any legal say in any matters of the world at large.
You don't get to make any decisions that affect any other people. And that is the best case scenario.
Yeah, I think there's like a hard floor. Any decision more than like what you want on your sandwich should be taken out of your hands.
Oh, yeah. Any decision that is beyond like what you want on your private plastic TV is something that like we cannot trust you to make on your own.
You can't be trusted with it.
No. And if you're not that fucking stupid, then you're a bad, evil person.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. If you're smart and you're still on that side, then it turns out you kind of just hate black people and women.
Yeah. It's kind of, you know what? I've been saying this for a while, and people thought I was a sensitive little bitch online. But, turns out I'm still annoying, I guess. I don't know. Whatever.
That's the thing. I don't like that I'm saying this.
Well,
I have a hard time hearing myself say it. But it sucks. It sucks. You just have to, those people just have to be discounted.
Well, because if we go off on this, we sound like humorless, like just fucking like very sensitive, whatever the fuck. But it's like, hey, look around what the fuck we are right now. This is not cool. There's it shouldn't be 2 sides, but since we've made it 2 sides, it's clearly fucking one good side. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Yeah. One side, we could live in a world where we could go to a water park, a beautiful, gleaming, substantially technologically innovated water park.
You know I love water parks.
I'm talking with wave pools and beautiful water parks that everyone can afford because there's dignity.
Joe, you know I love water parks, right? I absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's my favorite I miss them. The idea of going to them right now makes me so sad and also hopeful, but mostly sad because I miss the idea of water parks so much. Continue with your analogy, please.
Well, one side believes in that, Sam.
Yeah.
That we should live in a world where everyone can afford to go to a water park and you don't have to worry about how it's going to impact your financial fortunes in the interim.
Sure. And
that water park should be filled with all sorts of sexual orientations and colors, dwarfs even.
Yeah, I mean,
people of all sizes and shapes. Let us not forget the dwarfs.
Yeah, no, I've got my preferences as to who I definitely want there, but I also accept that everyone should be there. I definitely have my preferences of like top 4.
We all have our preferences.
Yeah, and I don't want to say what mine are, but let's just say they're very specific. Okay?
Yeah. Is it a bummer to see a at a place where you're just trying to have a good time and you don't want to worry about sure. We're all human beings.
Okay, continue with your point. That's a tangent. We should continue.
Yeah. And the other side are just fucking assholes.
Yeah. They only want 65 people or so in the water park. And it's like, okay, we'll make your own little water park and that's okay. But this huge big water park, that's for everybody.
Yeah, and then the ones that are in there will say, well, you didn't work hard enough. That's your fault. And you're like, but you know what? Your fucking dad had season passes that got handed down to you. So meanwhile, I'm hot and sticky, just sitting on a goddamn couch, hot and sticky, while you're pulling fucking G-forces going down a beautiful water flume. Fuck you, dude.
Fuck that dude. And also, I cannot wait to be at a water park, I guess maybe next year.
Yeah. Well, there's always the Dells.
No, you can't go to the Dells right now. Oh, you're talking about indoor?
Yeah. Although this thing's going to come in waves for the next
apparently
however many cycles. It's going to take a long time for this to be truly over. There needs to be a vaccine or everybody needs to get it and develop their own antibodies. One way or the other, it's going to take a long fucking time. And we're probably going to have to shelter in place and avoid shit that we like to do for
sure
until that happens. And once there is a vaccine, they have to make enough vaccine for everybody on the fucking planet.
Yeah. Well, let's not.
It's fucked. It's so fucked.
It's pretty fucked. And this is how our lives are going to be for minimum 3-6 months and then probably a year.
Yeah. It just fucking sucks. Everything. It just fucking sucks.
It's just so weird that everyone is in a race to get back to how they are, but to get back to how they are, they have to do such a weird, diluted version of the thing that they miss that it's like, well, that's not what you miss, you fucking assholes. And sometimes it's sometimes it's a cool version of it. Like if they play this Disney World NBA tournament, it's like, okay, that's cool. That's a separate thing. But this whole thing of we got to get haircuts right fucking now. It's like, well, why don't you, or we have to go see a show and we're all going to sit at tables 12 feet apart from each other. It's like, well, or we could wait a couple months to go to a fucking show. What are you trying to do? It's so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. To do a half-assed version of the thing that you want to do. I'm not for it. I love football. I don't want to watch a football season that's going to be played in empty fucking stadiums. It's going to be weird and eerie.
Yeah,
I'd much rather just not get the weird, eerie, upsetting version of the things I like.
Yeah,
it's like if you ordered a milkshake, and
I'm real excited to see where this goes.
The guy at the counter, was like, "Oh, you know what? Due to circumstances, we could still give you a milkshake, but this clown's going to put his penis in it while you drink it."
Okay, there we go.
I'd be like, you know what? I'll wait.
You know who that clown was? It was John Wayne Gacy, Joe. Yeah, he was. It was
that's something that sick bastard would be into.
John Wayne Gacy. He was the clown.
Dropping a hog in a milkshake.
It doesn't sound terrible.
But that's the thing. I guess if you really, really love milkshakes.
No, I'm talking about the part where you put your own penis into a milkshake, the texture and then the different temperature.
Sure. Listen, in that situation, I'd much rather be the clown than myself or the proprietor of the milkshake shop.
You're probably not going to be able to and I don't know if this sounds gross or not. You're probably not going to be able to fully come, but I'm sure it'll be a nice sensation. Especially if you're hard first. If you're going in,
I feel like that. I feel like though, if you start fucking the milkshake, you're getting fired as the clown.
Oh,
they're going to hire, especially in this job market. It won't be hard to find a clown who will not have sex with the milkshake. That will just professionally let it sit in there.
Hold on, you think the clown is being paid by the milkshake company? I just thought this was like a part of society, is like every business has a clown for.
No, this would be like, let's say, and this is no dumber than the theory that this is 5G's fault. Let's say the remedy to coronavirus somehow lives on a clown's penis.
Okay, I can believe that pretty quickly.
Right. So every establishment would have to have enough clown peni to go around per square footage to ensure everybody's safety. And, you know, in the case of this milkshake shop, It's been determined that the best way to keep everybody safe is for the clown to dunk that clown hog into the milkshake. And that clown would be employed by, I don't know, Department of Health, or maybe the CDC itself.
Is this clown?
Maybe the government would allocate funds for every business to hire a clown. Who knows?
Is this clown, and this is not, I don't know how important this is to, just getting our economy back chugging or whatever, but I guess for my own personal information, does this clown have clown makeup on its penis, or is this just an actual penis, but the clown is sort of around the penis? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it's a clown's penis.
Yes, but what I'm saying is it decorated does it have, if this is a clown with white face makeup, almost the inverse of a Jimmy Fallon. Grease paint, and it also like perhaps has red stringy hair that's like sort of shooting out. Is the clown's penis also have grease paint, and its pubes also bright red and sticking out, is what I'm trying to ask you.
1,000%.
Oh, it is? Okay. And that,
yeah.
In that case, I will. I'll just stay home for a couple more months.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like an easy choice.
I tell you. But you know what? We're going to, because of these dickheads who listen to QAnon or Fox News or fucking OAN, and they're going to keep doing shit and spreading this thing, and before we know it, after 14 months, we'll be like, all right, enough. I give in. I'll drink the clown penis milkshake. Yeah,
at some point we'll be all going crazy, and we'll just be our mouths will be watering for a clown peanut.
Yeah.
So
that'll be that's not the America I grew up in.
I didn't fucking grow up in that America too, Joe. And we've never been perfect, but when did we have to drink clown penis milkshakes? You know?
Never. We didn't even whiff it. There was no whiff of having to do it.
No, I mean, we all suspected some kind of hellscape where it could happen for sure. I've thought of this idea a lot, but I never thought it would be.
Oh yeah.
Never thought it'd be a mandatory thing just to enjoy the milkshake. I thought it'd be just personal choices.
Yeah, but no.
Well,
alas,
a sad shape world it in. So you've been back to work a couple days. Is that what's been going on?
For this concluded my second week of work.
Oh my God!
Today.
So that kind of really fucked up your pretty cool schedule of video games and then making a meal for your wife.
Yeah, that was it.
And walking.
And not. Oh, sorry. Yes, I was about to say, lest we forget the dog walking.
And the dog walking.
And now it's been it's all been fucked. Now I have to call a bunch of people who owe the government money, and they're not the most pleasant people on the planet.
Is that what your job is?
And I call people who owe the government money and try to convince them to let us represent them in negotiating with the government.
Wow. Which essentially would have them still paying money to the government, which at any normal time, that would be, I would say, aggravating or annoying to do.
Yeah.
But especially...
And at this particular time, people would rather drink a 5-clown penis milkshake than pay a red cent to the government.
Sure.
Let alone pay a red cent to the people who negotiate with the government for you.
Absolutely. People that are trying to hone in on their debt.
Yeah. Yeah, not a lot of people are thinking about the far-flung consequences of that now it might affect their very bright future.
So these people,
So it's,
in normal circumstances, they're annoyed with you calling.
yes. And in these circumstances, they treat this as an affront greater than having sex with their spouse.
Oh, God. That is hilarious. Well, I'm so pleased that you're back in the workforce.
Yeah, it really did boomerang on me. And you know what? I flew a little too close to the sun.
Wow.
And
you were gloating a little too hard in the podcast. Do you think?
Yeah, I there was no need to touchdown dance.
Do you think that had something to do with it?
Within a few days, I received a call back.
Wow.
From my boss, letting me know the good news. So yeah.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that, Joe. If it makes you feel any better, I'm still like losing my mind with no schedule and sometimes not even a concept of what day it is. Everything's.
Did you ever pick up the breakdancing thing? I think that could have centered you.
No, I started to clean out different closets, but then I was getting into an argument with my recent ex-girlfriend while I was like throwing things in my closet 'cause she was on speakerphone, and then the shelving unit above. Well, I don't want to bore you with it, but a lot of things fell down on me in almost a cartoonish John Wayne Gacy clown fashion. And, well, then I had, a lot of work to do cleaning that up. And I guess that's not an excuse why I haven't break danced outside of this church. But I did try to jog, like you said. I don't know if you're still trying to jog. I did try to jog.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of days ago, I tried to jog. Made my ankles hurt real bad, but I might try again.
Yeah, the more you do it, that doesn't feel any better. It hurts every time.
Really.
But you're doing it.
Well, barely. I heard someone in my neighborhood of Ravenswood in Chicago, Illinois. Someone was playing a saxophone in a big parking garage, and normally that's something I would just walk right. But because I was jogging and out of breath and feeling like my legs and belly were in bad shape, I stopped and I listened to random saxophone music. So. That's where I'm at.
Oh,
and that was
boy, if that ain't an indictment of jogging.
And that was a highlight of my day, to be sure. I put it on my Instagram. Other people enjoyed it. That's how much entertainment is suffering during this time. Obviously, it's not a huge priority, but we're starting to look to lone saxophone players.
Yeah.
So we're in.
And Netflix really isn't helping.
No,
the entertainment.
Well, they put out that thing on what's his name, and so that was just to brighten our days.
When I want to retreat from the bleakness of the world, let me watch 4.5 hours of Jeffrey Epstein.
I thought what was going to be a good rewatch after the Michael. This is true, I swear to God. After the Michael Jordan, the 10-part series on ESPN's 30 for 30. On the Chicago Bulls, the final season, the last dance, whatever you call it, you guys know what the fuck I'm talking about. After that, looking for a good documentary, my household, 3 roommates and myself, sometimes we watch things as a family. What I thought, and this is how stupid and, let's just say it, white and privileged, I thought what a good chaser to the 30 for 30, Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls, fun, the last dance documentary was going to be OJ's Made in America. And boy, is that not a good time. That is not a good time right now. That was a
great time.
A huge miscalculation on my part. Huge miscalculation. The first episode is it's setting the scene for how terrible things have been. And obviously I sound like a naive idiot, but they, there's a difference between talking about it and seeing direct footage, of course, and which I've seen before. But unfortunately, in my privilege, I forgot just how much they do show. And boy, oh boy, not the time for that at all. It was a big misfire part.
Huge misfire.
It was.
I thought I tried watching
Joe,
the Epstein.
Real quick. Just to put
ahead.
a small button on it. Let's just say the rest of my household is more diverse than me. So it was just an extra bad swing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, bad swing.
And an awkward
swing.
evening.
Terrible swing.
Okay, sorry.
I realize, the same thing. I have a curiosity about the Epstein case. And I was going to maybe watch it with Kristen, but then I was like, you know what? I can just do this on my own time.
Yeah.
I don't think this is anything that is going to make her day brighter.
Well,
it did make my day a little bright, only because they talk to a lot of News Channel 5 people.
Sure.
Like Tim Harrington and Laurel Sauer and Shannon Cake.
Are those, that's from Florida or something?
Well, yeah. Jeffrey Epstein probably preyed upon a couple of women who, well, now women, then girls who went to my high school.
Oh.
In all honesty.
Well, yeah.
This was happening. This was happening to now women our age. So, and one of the women in the documentary went to the high school like a 5-minute drive from our high school, Royal Palm Beach High School.
Yikes.
So, it's a big yikes. But Laurel Sauer still looks really young. She's taking care of herself.
Now, you say that name as if I'm supposed to. Is that one of the news anchors?
Yeah, a institution in South Florida News.
Oh.
So it was nice to see them. It was like checking in with childhood friends.
Well,
but all the other stuff was very much a brown.
Yeah, I feel like the context around that made it hard to fully enjoy, although I do understand it.
Yeah, I think what would have been better if I just maybe streamed News Channel 5.
Yeah.
I think that's what I really wanted.
There was a little. It obviously wasn't as viral as Jeffrey Epstein, but there was a small local weatherman that kind of went viral because he was broadcasting from his home, and I believe he was either holding his cat or holding his small dog. I think it was a cat. I just a little self-conscious about so much cat stuff in this episode, but he went a little viral because of how cute and nice it was, and it turns out that was Jeff Lyons from Channel 14, who I grew up with, and I actually this is going to sound worse than it is, but speaking of Jeffrey Epstein, I showered with him at the Evansville YMCA. Which
no guff.
Yeah. So at the time, and when I was in high school, and he was a middle-aged weatherman for Channel 14, we both worked out at the same YMCA, and then occasionally you're in the big group men's showers at the same time. So for a little while in high school, because I was kind of an idiot, I would brag to people at my school about how I had seen Jeff Lyons' balls. Which I have seen. Local weatherman. Channel 14's Jeff Lyon. I know his balls. I know his penis size when it is flaccid.
Yeah, that might come in handy.
Well,
knowing such information.
It was decent small talk if you are also in high school and immature.
I would have been. You know what? You feel self-conscious saying that, obviously, but you know what? I would have. I've got a bit of a curiosity about what our local weatherman's balls and penis might have looked like.
It's just fun. That's what's frustrating when people leak photos of celebrities. It's I'm so curious what's their business, but then it's well, that's a serious violation of trust and their privacy. At the same time, I want to know what's going on down there. It's just fun when you
Yeah.
That's what's so great. Not to be real gross. That's what's so great about hooking up with an old friend, because you're oh wow, this whole other side of them, maybe sure. I may have just spoken too much, shared too much.
Yeah, who's the old friend you hooked up with? Is it Steve Lyons?
It's not. Well, it's Jeff Lyons. I think. Do you have a friend named Stephen Lyons?
You know what, Steve Lyons, and that's what's really tripping me out. That was the name of our fucking weather guy.
No, there's no way. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm fucking verifying it now, but I believe Steve Lyons. Run him into the old Google.
Maybe...
Are the Lions like a weather dynasty, like the Watts are in football?
Maybe that's a weatherman family for sure. And by weatherman, we obviously mean meteorologists. Wait, do we? Because some weathermen are not meteorologists or weather ladies. Weather women, meteorologists. Most of the women that do it are meteorologists, and some of the weathermen that do it are just goofy fucking guys that point to thunderclouds, right?
Yep. Absolutely. You know what? Steve Lyons is he's a baseball color commentator.
Honest mistake. And you know what? That's the same field. Pretty much.
I'm relieved, honestly.
Well, Jeff Lyons used to take a helicopter out to our high school football field, barely show a minute, if that, of whatever high school football game was going on in the big high school Friday night football roundup that happened in southern Indiana. So
he did sports too?
So he did a little bit of sports. So they're a little bit, local high school boys football, which you could make the argument now that is just fucking insane to have on the news. Who gives one fucking shit what these boys running into each other did It's kind of insane if you think about it. In another way, though, it's nice, and the community likes, they feel together. Who am I? Am I rambling more than I usually do? I feel like I'm talking in paragraphs and you're talking in short sentences. Is that a problem or is it fine?
Not a problem.
Okay.
Not a problem. Well, now I can't get it out of my head. Who the fuck is the weather guy? So sorry if it felt like I was
You're thinking of one specific
checked out there.
One specific weatherman?
Yes.
Well, I
didn't care for him. He was awfully smug.
I mean, it's reasonable that you don't remember your local weatherman from growing up. The only reason I really remember Jeff Lyons is because I saw his balls at the YMCA.
Ball and penis.
I don't remember Channel 25's weatherman
Steve Wiegel.
Wiegel.
Holy shit. Steve Wiegel has not aged an inch.
Some of these guys take care of themselves. They're on TV.
What the fuck is with all these TV people? They really must be incredibly vain because none of them fucking show any sign of aging whatsoever.
Well,
Steve Wiegel. Yeah, Steve Wiegel was kind of a son of a bitch. He would really, really get, during hurricane season, and hurricane season's a huge boon for a South Florida weatherman because you're on TV the whole fucking summer. And boy, when he got one right, he would just walk around like you would have think that the sun shone out of his asshole. It was upsetting to see him just fucking peacock.
It's fun to gloat.
And it's like, sure, I'm glad you got the hurricane right, but guess what, pal? So did the fucking National Weather Service. So did the fucking there's a guy that flies a plane over the fucking hurricane to drop fucking instruments into it. Like there are a lot of players on the team.
Yeah,
you're but a small piece.
But
also you predicted it right, so hooray for us. But your counterpart in Tampa has to deliver horrible news.
Yes.
It fucking anyway. Wow, he's from Nova Scotia. Fucking
interesting.
Quite a switch.
Wait a minute.
Quite a switch in climate.
I said it was interesting, but I don't actually think that's interesting.
Oh, here this is on his fucking website. Steve's career highlights include 2004 Hurricane Francis. This is what I'm talking about, where he talked South Floridians through the storm for almost 67 hours straight.
Oh my, what a psychopath.
What type of asshole wants to be on TV for 67 hours straight and talk us through? We all know what to fucking do implicitly.
Yeah,
Don't go outside. There's not a whole lot of counsel to be given. What a son of a bitch. What a son of a bitch.
That is insane. He refused at that point. He had to refused to take a break, not even refused to give a shift away, refused to take a long break. That's insane.
And at that point, there's no more, the weatherman's job is to tell us about what will happen.
What's the name of this guy?
There's no more
again?
information. Steve Wiegel, he's a real asshole.
Steve Wiegel.
Apparently, every year he rides for the Red Cross, which is nice, but fuck
that's
him.
Cool.
Steve Wiegel.
Steve Wiegel.
Weagle.
Sorry, could you spell that again?
Fucking narcissist.
Spell that again.
Weagle.
Okay, that's
like Beagle, but with a W.
Steve Wiegel in Florida weatherman. Guys, officially, the Lana Del Pod says, fuck you, Steve Wiegel.
Fuck you officially. 67 hours. I mean, that's
Jesus
holding
Christ.
that's holding an entire region's television hostage.
That only makes sense if the hurricane is called Hurricane Steve Wiegel.
Oh, my God. And can you imagine, again, nothing to talk through. There's no prescient advice that can be given while a hurricane is happening to you.
I'm going to be honest, Joe. Before you called, I was recording myself, a little intro to the pod, and it went about 8 minutes, and I was struggling. I was grasping for straws. I was starting to talk about pumpkin carving, and then you called. Thank you. So, do you have any thoughts on pumpkin carving?
Fun activity, and the seeds are delicious when roasted.
That's gross. How many pumpkins?
So you were trying to kill 8 minutes of time by yourself.
I didn't know how much time I was killing. I waited a few minutes.
But
it wound up being about 8 minutes. I didn't know. I was waiting for you to call back because you said you were going to call through a Google number, and I was like, oh, that'll take a minute or two. I waited a minute or two, and then I started recording because I thought it'd be fun if, the phone call, the ring came in through the recording. What's your fucking problem with me, Rick? Wait, can you not hear me?
I've got no problem. I'm doing some math. So you
Yeah.
found it, I think, quite reasonably. You found it unsettling to try to fill 0.001 the time that Steve Wiegel filled during Hurricane Wilma.
Okay, but to be fair to Steve...
The man's a monster.
To be fair to Steve Wiegel, who, again, we officially say fuck you to, but to be fair to him, I didn't have a hurricane to...
No, you had something arguably more interesting, which is fucking pumpkin carving.
Well,
I mean, a hurricane's not that interesting. Have you seen rain? Have you felt wind? It's a lot of that.
I haven't...
End of fucking story.
I didn't really talk too much about pumpkin carving. How many pumpkins do you think you've carved? Like, how many times? Not like individual pumpkins, but how many times...
Oh, man.
How many times do you think you've
4?
actually done that? Only 4?
Yeah.
I bet you've done it like 10 times.
No, 4. There was the pumpkin carving contest I entered in 2007, which I placed 5th. And then twice before that in preparation for said pumpkin carving contest. And then, I don't know, one other time.
You didn't like do it with your grandparents or like with some neighborhood kids or with like a first girl that you dated? I feel like these are all...
didn't date anyone growing up, and my one grandma thought Halloween was a celebration of Satan, and the other grandma just had really bad arthritis.
Okay,
so carving a pumpkin was a non-starter.
My mom also thought Halloween was celebrating the devil. I wasn't allowed to trick or treat, so don't bring that shit to my house. I understand that. But I still carved a fucking pumpkin every now and then. And like, what about in college or like a big serious relationship where you're like, let's do a goofy activity and like wear sweaters while we do it? You didn't do that?
I feel like I went to a pumpkin carving like party.
Yeah, like a mixer, like a singles...
Like a mixer. Yeah, I think I went to like a pumpkin carving mixer once.
All right, well, you're really...
I don't know.
You're derailing my point, but the idea...
Sorry,
though,
bro.
I know. I'm frustrated because I felt like the number of pumpkins I've carved is on the low side with the average human being, but I've still carved like probably 8 of them, you know?
I think that's on the high side.
I think it's fucking low as shit, and I think our listeners, please message in or write us in. We're on Twitter and Instagram with the name you'd expect, Lana Del Pod. That's fucking easy. So find us and tell us if you've carved double-digit pumpkins, please, because I feel like that's the norm, double-digit numbers, pumpkins. In which case, let me get to my point here, Joe. If you have carved double-digit pumpkins in your life, and I think most people carved way more than that. I think it's a yearly activity with their family, with friends, with a loved one. And then if they're adult and they got kids, they do it with adult. If they're freshly married, they do it, you get it, right? I think it's double-digit, in which case, how weird is that? Because it is a weird fucking activity to take like a vegetable ground gourd and then like, I'm going to carve a creepy weird fucking face into it, That's weird, right?
Sure,
but
very weird.
We've all sort of done it. But we only do it once a year, so it should be a specific memory. But because we've done it, 14 times, I think, you don't remember people that you've carved pumpkins with. And how strange is that? That there are people in your life that were important enough for you to carve a goddamn pumpkin next to cut a face into this vegetable that you put on your stoop for stoop decoration to basically celebrate a autumn solstice happening. And you don't even remember who you did that with?
Weird, man.
All right, well...
I find that weird.
Okay.
I find it weird, too. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
Don't need to be salty. Here's what I was thinking while you were saying that. Why don't we carve watermelons in the summer?
That's cool. I guess, yeah.
Right?
Huh.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I guess
buy a fucking watermelon.
I could do that.
They'd be easy to carve. And honestly, watermelon pulp is a lot fucking tastier than fucking pumpkin guts.
Yeah, scooping it out might mush some of it, but I bet you still get a lot of like good watermelon chunks.
Yeah,
sure.
I would think so. Yeah, I'm gonna carve a watermelon.
Maybe me too. And watermelons will have funnier faces because some of them are real oblong. So it's like
oh yeah.
Like who's
this?
Oh
my gosh.
Who's this fat green stripy guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that'd be hilarious.
I'm gonna do.
You could like carve someone with like a really like long face. Like you could do like a Ted Danson watermelon.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
this sounds good. This is gonna bring.
It might heal America.
It's gonna give me at least one day activity.
Yeah, let's each carve a watermelon and see how it goes.
Okay, I'll do that. Well, Joe, I think we've reached a good stopping point for the pod. What do you think?
I think we're at a very logical nadir. That I do have to get my laundry.
Unless you had any lingering thoughts or anything, any buttons.
No, I feel completely flushed out.
Flushed or fleshed?
Which is great. Flushed.
Oh, okay. Well,
I feel mentally flushed.
I'll say,
which is a great feeling.
I'll say gross to that. You can follow if you're a fan of the pod, and we hope you are. Listen to some old episodes. We also have little video clips on our Instagram page, which is at Lana Del Pod. We also have a Twitter, but we hardly ever tweet on that, which is also at Lana Del Pod. Joe, you've got an Instagram, which is Joe McMahon Comic, but you don't really update that, do you?
Nah, Instagram has really eluded me.
Well, how can people find you online whenever, so they can hear when you announce when you've got like an album out or something like that? Like Twitter?
I mean, that'll probably happen on Twitter and Instagram. I just don't, I don't know. I tweet every now and again. Instagram, I don't know. I'm not a visual person.
What's your Twitter? It's like Joe...
It's Joe Alden McMahon.
Joe Alden McMahon. You guys can find me on Instagram at Samuel Priest Comedy, and then on Twitter, don't follow me on there because it's a nightmare. A lot of retweets about how racism is bad. But on Twitter, I'm the Samuel Priest. If you want to see a bunch of bullshit that's not very funny, but it is sad and harrowing.
Well, it's important. If you don't retweet that racism's bad, how will people know?
Hey, some people, listen, if people didn't still argue with me about this dumb bullshit, then it would be a waste of time. But people still, don't understand that it's bad.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. Also, there's a lot of nuance with it, and this is not funny at all, but as white liberals, we're in a little bit of a bubble, and we don't see a lot of things that we're doing inherently that are race, sexist and misogynist, and we all have internal biases that, maybe if we reflected and looked inward on more, we could make this place a better place, and we wouldn't have such hard disagreements on the more surface level, obviously wrong things. Anyways, Joe, sorry about that boring thing I just said.
Well said. No, well said. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I had a brief period of that last night in regards to my inherent sexism.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm hesitating.
Yeah, doing some reflecting. You know who probably doesn't reflect at all?
Who's that?
The type of monster who would stay on television for 67 straight hours to let people know it's wet outside.
What was that guy's name
That is
again?
not someone who examines. Steve fucking Wiegel.
All right. Well, as our final sign-off here, fuck you, Steve Wiegel.
Fuck you, Steve Wiegel.
All right.
You're a meteorologist, not a fucking whore.
Okay, see you guys.